Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is a tablet which bears a more than passing resemblance to an iPad, but it's not. It's an Android tablet called the Chuwi V99, and it's got a 9.7-inch display, so it's a 4:3 aspect ratio screen, much like the iPad. It's about the same size, has a back that I haven't quite decided if this is metal or plastic, but it gets cold when it's on a cold surface and warms up a little bit afterwards, so I think it might be a metal surface. You can see it runs Google Android, has 16 gigs of storage, Wi-Fi. It also has a Rockchip RK3066 processor. It's a dual-core processor. But what really makes this stand out from most other tablets is that it has basically a Retina display. It's a 2048 by 1536 pixel display, and when you turn it on, you can see that the screen looks pretty good. There's a lot of fine control over the brightness, which is nice. But the main thing is that the resolution just looks a lot sharper than similar devices. So for instance, let's go ahead and load up a magazine here. While I'm doing that, let's take another tablet with a 9.7-inch screen, but this is an HP Touchpad which has a 1024 by 768 pixel display. Now unfortunately on this video it's going to be pretty difficult to really tell the difference, but I'm going to sort of walk you through it here and show you that I've got the same magazine loaded up on both. We've got graphics, look pretty good on both tablets at this resolution, but text is really much sharper and easier to read. 2048 by 1536, both of those numbers are twice what you would get with 1024 by 768, but when you actually multiply it out, you get about 4 times the pixel resolution. And what that means is that images and text are going to look a little bit sharper on the Chuwi V99 than they do on something like the HP Touchpad or a first generation iPad, or second generation iPad for that matter. And again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this here, but the text, it looks kind of pixelated and difficult to read when you've got it a magazine sort of at full screen here like you do on the left, whereas on the right it's pretty easy to read, even when you've got sort of a 2-page layout here on 1 page. Things get even better when you sort of switch to portrait mode, and everything looks pretty sharp and crisp. So for viewing magazine pages, comic books, other things where you really want to sort of get as close to paper as you can, that higher resolution screen is going to make a difference. The dual-core processor is relatively fast. That's in this device, and so it helps keep up with things, but from time to time it feels a little bit sluggish. This is just sort of a first impressions post. I haven't really played with this for very long yet. I just wanted to take a quick look and show you what the tablet looks like, how it works, how it feels. I'll have a more detailed review soon, so I can really talk about performance and benchmarks. You can see I've downloaded and installed a couple of benchmarking applications here, but I haven't really run them yet. But it's thin, it's light. You can see it is a little bit thinner than the HP Touchpad here, and it's a really pretty good size, I think, for holding either in portrait or landscape mode, which is something that I don't necessarily feel when I'm using 10-inch tablets that have widescreen displays. They tend to be a little bit more uncomfortable to hold in portrait mode, and especially when you get to sort of the 11.6-inch tablets that we're starting to see with Windows 8. So I think the 9.7-inch screen really is a pretty good form factor when you want to be able to use it either way, and it's a nice compromise for things like reading books, magazines, web pages, and so forth. Now, the thing about this little guy, though, is that it would have been a lot more impressive had I gotten it a couple of days ago. Now that Google's announced a tablet with a 2560 by 1600 pixel display, this old 2048 by 1536 is sort of old hat. But still, it's a relatively inexpensive device you can pick up in the $250 range or so. That's sort of impressive. Now, it's a Chinese tablet. You're not going to necessarily get the same sort of warranty support that you might expect from some other devices, and the build quality does seem to be pretty good on this one so far. But I know that when you're shipping devices from China from companies that you're not as familiar with, you do sort of run the risk that you might get a faulty unit. I've got another device that I got from the same distributor that has a bad pixel and sort of a bubble under the screen. As far as I can tell, though, the build quality on this one, the Chuwi V99, does seem to be pretty good, and it arrived in great shape. So a little bit riskier perhaps, but overall what you get is a pretty good device for the price. So anyways, you can find more details at liliputing.com, and we'll have a more detailed review coming soon, but I wanted to give you a quick look and tell you that the display really is one of the better displays that I've seen, and definitely the highest resolution display that I've seen so far in an Android tablet, at least until the Google Nexus 10 becomes available.